The Sultana is a story of needless tragedy and the greed and corruption that led to it. But it's also a story of bravery and sacrifice. The Sultana is the deadliest maritime disaster in American history, yet it's probably a story you've not been told.
The Sultana was a Mississippi steamboat that had a charter by the federal government to bring home Union prisoners of war, and the government was paying the captain per soldier. The legal capacity of the Sultana was 376 people.
At Vicksburg, through a chain of bribes, the captain had almost 2,000 recently released Union soldiers squeezed onto the boat.
Most of them were starving and weak from months of being wasted in Confederate prisons. Among those on board was one John Clark Ely, a volunteer from Ohio.
John Clark Ely was captured near Nashville on December 5, 1864. And on Christmas Day, as he was being taken towards Andersonville, he wrote in his diary, "Will another Christmas find us among family and friends again?" John Clark Ely and 2,000 of his comrades were placed on the Sultana, which he described as a large but not very fine steamboat.
The Sultana left the wharf at Vicksburg and headed upstream. At Helena, it docked to pick up a few passengers, and here photographer Thomas W. Banks showed us what the Sultana looked like as she made her way upriver.
John Clark Ely wrote in his diary that day, "Oh, a very fine day, upward still we go." The Sultana docked at Memphis at 6 p.m. and stayed there until midnight, and then steamed northward on the flooded Mississippi River.
When the Sultana was about 7 miles north of Memphis, at 2 in the morning on April 27, 1865, her boilers exploded.
Hundreds of men were killed instantly by the superheated steam, the shrapnel from the exploding boilers, and within a few minutes, the entire superstructure was on fire.
Initially, there was a mad rush to get off the boat, but once these guys on the bow realized that the flames are going to the rear, they sort of stopped. But then what happens is one of the paddle wheel housing will burn away, and it starts to turn the boat. When the boat turns, the flames are now blown towards them. And now you have a second mad panic off at the bow. And this is where you have a second mass drowning of guys grabbing each other, and almost hundreds going down at one time.
When the sun rose that morning, over 1,200 people were dead or dying.
As a point of reference, the USS Arizona, when it was attacked on December 7th, 1941 by the Japanese, lost about 1,200 men also. Everybody remembers Pearl Harbor and remembers the Arizona, but how many remember the Sultana?
John Clark Ely never made it home. Along with the hundreds of men that were recovered, lie buried in graves that simply state, "Unknown U.S. soldier." The men on the Sultana are men that deserve to be recognized, to be remembered by a country that they fought to preserve.
Our project is to create a permanent Sultana Disaster Museum that's worthy of the significance of this event, because we believe this story needs to be told now more than ever.
We really need a Sultana Disaster Museum to remember the Sultana disaster. The men, the women, the children, the crew.
I had a relative that was on board who was the president of the Survivors Association. I didn't know about it. I knew of Andersonville, but not the Sultana. We can't lose that history.
In the little bitty museum that we've had visitors from all 50 states and 14 foreign countries. We know that with a large museum built to national standards, about 50,000 visitors would visit the museum every year.
We want them to get lunch, dinner, cup of coffee. We want them to shop, and that money gets spent in our community and stays in our community. And we feel that there will be 140 jobs that will be created either directly or indirectly by the museum. The Sultana Historical Disaster Museum is forecasted to open at the end of 2023. The cost of renovation and exhibit construction is just under $10 million. Our capital campaign is $14 million. That additional $4 million above the renovation will be used for advertising and promotion, a signature film, as well as an endowment for operating expenses while the museum grows in popularity. As economic development, this can be equal to a car manufacturing plant or a steel mill, but the bottom line is there will be money that comes into our community that's not here now. There will be people that will be coming into our community that are not here now, and our people that live here will benefit from that.
This is the best project for this region right now. So the state has to be a part of this. We've got to put money to it. We're going to benefit from it. We're going to be the biggest beneficiary of this project.
The City of Helena, West Helena, and I personally are committed to helping raise the money for this group. I think we owe it to the victims and their families who were denied a monument. I think we owe it to the survivors who were denied a pension. I think we owe it to ourselves today to remind us of where we once were in our country and where we could be again.
We study our history to learn from our past and not repeat its mistakes. But we've not told this story the way it deserves to be told. This is our opportunity, our chance to change that, and we need your help. We need your help to everyone.